Hi, friends. I am solo today, and I'll be telling you why in just a minute. But I'm going to go ahead and get started. Hi, friends, and welcome back to Called to Homeschool episode number 80. And today I'm talking all about the family planner. Now, you are not going to hear the lovely Karen today. It is just going to be Meg because Karen recently moved this last weekend and her house is still all torn apart. She is moving within the area, so she's still close by, but there's always a lot of chaos that comes with moving, right? So, anyways, she's well, she's healthy, and moving into a new house. So that's super exciting for her, and hopefully she'll be back next week. Always way more fun to do it with a good friend. So, anyway, you get me today. I probably will be more calm without a friend. I won't be as silly, so maybe you'll appreciate that a little bit better. Um, so, I wanted to start with telling you a little bit about kind of what it is I do. And I know Karen and we have different things that we both bring to the table. And we were homeschool moms, right? We have that in common. And what Karen's whole site, Teach Beside Me, has really fun ideas. And it's Teach Beside Me, right? And so, really fun activities to do, projects to try, ways to make learning more fun and really enriching and exciting. What I bring to the table is I am a homeschool life coach. So, what I love to do is I help you in the process of being able to take any curriculum, any fun idea, and being able to actually implement it. Being able to help you create peace within yourself and confidence so that you can homeschool and push through when it gets hard, or if you have people who doubt your ability or say things to you and you're like, oh, maybe I can't do it, right? I help coach through those things. I also do a lot of coaching of struggling with kids. Like I'm homeschooling and now my children are hitting each other or they don't sit and do their schoolwork and I'm super frustrated by that. I coach on all those beautiful things. So I think Karen and I are a beautiful balance that she brings this awesome, fun curriculum, printouts, all these great ideas. And then I help you keep your sanity while you do them. And so I have what is called Mama's Members, and it's on my website, coachmacthomas.com. And in my membership, I have it divided into 4 categories. And I have in the 4 categories different videos you can watch to learn about these things. So the 4 categories are your toolbox, and that is where you learn all about self coaching. You have, learning different tools, right, of boundaries and your manuals and fear and a lot of great stuff for self coaching. Also, stuff for affirmations. The lovely Brooke Snow allowed me to put her I Love and Accept You meditation into my membership. So you'll have access to that there as well. So, a lot of the self coaching, your own toolbox, right? How to deal with different things. The next part is parenting, because as you find as you are homeschooling, a lot of times your parenting and the areas where it struggles kind of gets brought to the front, right? And so I have a whole section on parenting of being able to connect with your kids, because I will say this a million times, if you connect with your kid, you can teach them anything. The third part is the family. And that's what we'll be talking about today. But the family, like you are becoming very intentional with creating this amazing family, because you're either going to suffer with having everybody home or you're either going to create something amazing. There isn't a lot of middle ground. And so if you're going to be home, you might as well really implement this time to create something absolutely amazing. And then the fourth series is all about homeschool, right? Teaching your kids habits, how to create your homeschool year, what are your visions with homeschooling, stuff like that. And then I also go through like, what does my day look like, some stuff like that. So I have this video series you can watch as much as you want. And then I do group coaching, and that's been really, really fun. And right now, I've just been doing one group coaching call a month, and in January, that will expand. So that's really exciting. It's going to be 2, maybe 3 group sessions a month, but for sure 2. And that's where you get to come and we get to talk about anything it is you want to talk about, whether it's homeschool, children, whatever you have going on in your life. I actually have a special one coming up this November that will be all about just anything with the holidays so that you can have a great holiday, Thanksgiving, Christmas, all that stuff, to just have a little extra help if you need it. Then I do private coaching. And within my membership, there's a spot where you can sign up for private sessions, and they're with me for 20 to 30 minutes. And this has been really fun. because I really get to dive in and we get to address your issues head on and in a private setting, which I know I like to do be coached privately. And some people don't mind groups, but I love having both options. And then it's fun too as people come on repeatedly, like I get to see their progress and how they're doing and all that stuff. So being able to coach moms and helping them create amazing things speaks loudly to my heart because I know the power that moms have. But I also really love coaching teens. And I have done teen and mom coaching sessions, and I've done a lot of stuff with teens. But I know like that's one more thing to pay for. That's one more thing to have. So for people in my lifetime membership, which is what there is right now, your teen can sign up for the private coaching session. So I have a bunch of kids, right? If they are like, I would like to have some coaching, they can sign up underneath my account, right? So you don't have to pay for anything extra. It just comes as part of your being a part of Mama's Members. So Mama's Members is increasing in price in January. So if you have been on the fence with it, I highly recommend signing up before January because prices will be increasing and your teen can get coaching either way, but just a little bit cheaper right now. My only caveat with this is that the teen has to want to be coached. So if you are signing up your teen because you're like, I'm struggling with them, I'm really frustrated with them, I want them to change, then we're actually going to do coaching with you and your thoughts about your teen and the things you're struggling with. But if you have a teen who is like, I'm ready for more, I'm struggling with a sibling and I don't know how to get better than this, I want to just improve my own life. Some things I was going to talk about, some things that I have coached with teens, and these are just some of the basics. I actually helped coach teen breaking up with a boyfriend, girlfriend, right? Just helping them be at peace with it, to not put how they feel on the person they were dating, right? To take ownership. And it was a really cool experience. I've coached teens with navigating with a parent they struggle with. So there was a parent that they really struggled with and they didn't like that they felt animosity towards them. I've coached teens on wanting to give up sports, but their parents were very emotionally invested and wanted them to keep playing, but the teen had no desire to play anymore. So that was a really powerful thing that we've coached on. And also things about like feeling embarrassed that you want to do little kid things, but you're a teenager now, right? And just like owning who you are and lots of awesome things. So that is available for anybody in Mama's Members that your teen can sign up for a private session. If you're already in Mama's Members, just click, once you're signed in, go to private session and you can just put in the notes that it's for your teen. So that is a ton of fun. Probably put in their email as well so it goes to them. Okay, so what I want to talk about today is in my membership as well, and it's under family or module 3, and we're going to talk about the family planner. So your family is your business. And what do successful businesses do? They meet together, they review how things have gone in the past, they plan for the future, and they focus on creating a better business. Like, okay, this isn't working. What could we do different? They're willing to try different things, right? And I'm talking about successful businesses. They're innovative. They're creative. They look at their past for learning, for growing, not as that they're failures and these are horrid mistakes, but they look at that to review and like, okay, what could we do better? Or what were we doing amazing? And how do we keep creating that? So now take those same principles and apply it to your family. Sometimes I will actually read business books and just apply it straight to the family because a lot of them are the exact same. So do you meet together with your family? And I mean being intentional meeting together, not eating a meal together, which is lovely. And I think that's great, right? Like watching a movie together, those are all good things. But having this intentional meeting of actually reviewing, how is our family doing? How did we do last week? What are areas we struggled with? Where could we have done better, right? Do you plan for the future? Okay, what do we have going on this week? How can we had this issue, how do we tackle that this week and make it a little bit better? How do we plan for some possible roadblocks coming up? Or a roadblock we ran into last week, like let's discuss as a family, how do we overcome these things? Do you try to be intentional and create something with your family, right? Like we're a family who does what? Like what is our family about? So we talked about this as we're creating your homeschool of creating this vision for it, right? So it's kind of the same idea with your family. Like, what is it that you're trying to create with your family? Because if you don't know what you want to create, then it really doesn't matter what you do. But I have found a lot of homeschool moms are very intentional with what they are trying to create and what they are wanting to have happen in their home. So this is just a really easy format to do this in your own home. In my membership, I actually had originally talked about that I had like a little page printed off for people, and so it was kind of like a meeting agenda. And I went into a notebook, and the notebook sat out on the piano, but stayed closed the whole entire week. And I realized that that was a big problem because we would have a really good, powerful family meeting and then do nothing with it. And then the next Sunday we'd review it and think, oh, we didn't do any of this. So I created a calendar that if you're on YouTube watching this, you can see the calendar behind me. But I created the family planner calendar that you can hang up in your house so that it's something that you can easily review. It's like you see it, so it's part of like, oh, that's right, we are doing this week. And just kind of to keep sparking your memory of what you have going on. So if you are in my membership, you can actually download the calendar for free and go get it printed yourself. Or anybody is welcome to purchase it, and it is printed on the sturdiest paper ever. I was super impressed. It has a fancy little hook on the top, so you can just hang it right on a little nail or hook, whatever it is you want. And I'm going to go over this family planner. Also, those in Mama's members, you get 50% off the physical copy. So anyways, go check that out, coachmcthomas.com. But if you just want to kind of create your own, I'm going to go through the whole thing with you. So this is just how we do it. You can adapt it as any way you would like. And those of you on YouTube, I'll kind of be like a Vanna White and kind of show you the areas where you can see what this looks like. So I have on here a section that says comments and concerns. Now, this is one of my favorite things. Like, think of this as a business if you had like a suggestion box or like something is going wrong box, right, at work. So just a place for your children and myself and even my husband to have like a comment or a concern through the week, right? Like one time I wanted to just say like, thank you. My husband and I went and did something and you guys were awesome at the house and took care of it and took care of the baby. And I just wanted to remember to tell them thank you. We've had lots of concerns written on here, and this is why I love this section. Is because if you have children who come to you with their problems left and right, like, Mom, he touched this, Mom, she did this, Mom, and you're like, well, I can't solve all of your problems. You just simply go to them and say, okay, we're going to just write it on the calendar and we'll bring it up in family meeting. Now, two things start to happen. First, they start realizing that they are capable of solving their own problems, because when it comes to Sunday, and that's when we do ours, but you can do yours whenever, and they realize the things they wrote on there were not that, like, they weren't as terrible as they thought they were. So it starts showing your children that maybe some of these concerns weren't actually concerns and that they can start problem solving quickly on their own. That takes some time. But then the second part is that they are learning how to problem solve when you are bringing these comments and concerns to the family. And you don't have to, as a mom, solve them again, right? So if you have a kid on there, like the boys are making a mess of the bathrooms, that's something that's been written on here. I'm like, okay, what are your suggestions, kids? Like, what do you guys think? So it's not a place where I have to come then and save the day, or dad has to come in and save the day. We are going to, in a very safe environment, teach them how to do these things. Now, I want to highlight that I'm saying safe environment, because we are not going to make fun of anybody for any of their comments or concerns. If they have a concern that somebody's touching their stuff, we are going to listen to them. Because even though in our adult brain this seems silly, it seems dumb, it's important to them. And so how wonderful to have a safe space that you can come to and just be like, oh, like, I can express anything I want to. Am I safe with my family and they can hear me? And then start teaching your kids those skills to solve those problems. So when we meet together as a family, we sing a song, we say a prayer, and then we just start going through people. So we rotate through like my husband's week, my week, and then go through all the kids. So everybody's getting a turn to be the family leader, the discussion leader. And, oops, that's funny. Now I lost my train of thought. For those of you just listening to the podcast, I kicked over the camera. So So when we start, that's what we do. So our family discussion leader then would go through and say, like, Mom, did you have any comments or concerns from last week? And if they're written down, we'd go over it. And if I'm like, I did, actually, I forgot to write it down, but this is what it was, we would go over it. Then this middle section, it says prayers. Like, Mom, is there anything we can pray for you for this week? And I could say, yes. Like a couple weeks ago, we had on there, I hurt my ankle running. I'm like, we guys pray for my ankle. It really hurts and I want to get out running again. And then the next week when we came to my turn, I said, now can we do a prayer of gratitude? My ankle's feeling fantastic. So we go through every family member, just simple like that. Like any comments or concerns. And if they don't, we're just like, great, anything to pray for? Nope, I'm good. Okay, and we go to the next person. Super simple. Then we go through our calendar. And like it is a masterpiece, my calendar, because with 9 people, like there's stuff going on, right? So whatever day it is, like, okay, so today Mom's working this afternoon. Somebody else is going to work. I'm actually going to do what we had today, right? So we have a flag football practice, we have a flag football game, and somebody else has a basketball practice. Like, great, that's Tuesday. Wednesday, we have these things going on. Thursday, these things, right? So we go through our whole entire week so we can see our week. That way we can also do if, like, I have a lot of drivers, but sometimes we don't have enough cars for all the drivers. So we have to like, okay, I can drop you off and this person can take you and we can do all these awesome things and make sure that everybody's getting to where they need to be. It's also great to have it out in the open because you're reminded, but it's also helpful for kids to see like, oh, when I want to go do all these things, like it's kind of crazy to fit that in the schedule. And I know that's probably more for my family with the amount of people we have, but it's something really good to see. Then we go through our FEMSISes, and there is a whole episode on FEMSISes. But basically, what it is that my husband and I, we are mentoring our children each week to better themselves in these 6 different categories, which is FEMSISes. So I will go through those. So we then go through finances, emotional, mental, physical, social, and spiritual. So we would go through our finances, and you can watch. I have a YouTube video on levels of liberty, and where I talk about helping my kids advance in these different levels and learn different skills within these levels, and then they earn liberties as they do it. So each week in family meeting, we review how people are doing. So financially, how did you do? Like if you are on the skill of tracking your finances, how is that going? If you have the skill of just saving, like how is that going, right? And people, we can open up and say like, okay, somebody made like $400 last month. I paid 10% to the Lord, 10% to my savings, and I bought these different items, and this is what I have left over. So I put the rest into just fun money savings, right? So we would go through all of that, and we'd have a lot of mentoring through that if needed. And then we have emotional. This one is great if you have children who are hitters or screamers or throw big tantrums, like okay, we're going to review last week. Emotionally, how did we do last week? And people be like, oh, pretty good, pretty bad, like, okay. And a really easy question is to even ask like, okay, so you got really angry with your brother. And remember, this is a safe space. So it's not like, hey, you little punk, you did this. But it's the safe space of like, okay, you got frustrated with your brother. Next time, what do you think you could do? And start brainstorming and helping them see that like, oh, I did have options. So that you're going to kind of retrain their brain like, okay, next time I could do this. Yeah, next time, it's now that I see like hindsight's 2020, right? And I can see like because somebody touched something, it wasn't the end of the world and it wasn't that big of a deal. I'm trying to think. We had one last week in our family meeting of emotions. Oh, of kids not listening to somebody else and the other person plugging their ears, like, I can't hear you, I can't hear you. And we both allowed them this opportunity to just be heard. Like, this is why I plugged my ears. This is why I kept pestering. What could we do in the future? And we literally just turned it over to them to solve, and we just guided them. I didn't have to come and be this perfect, like, all-knowing mother. Like, I know the answer to all these questions. My kids know the answer to a lot of these questions, right? And sometimes I can just help them get back on the path if they go off on a tangent, and my husband can. But emotionally, like, that was super awesome. Like, oh, that's interesting that you did that, right? Like, what do you think you could do next time? And to help them to learn how to solve those problems. Like, when you want to hit your brother, what could you do? What's different about that? So we could go through mental, and a lot of our mental has getting our schoolwork done on time, being able to push through hard things. Right now, one of my kids is working on mastering a skill with an instrument, and it's been difficult. And so, like, hey, how's that going? We are your biggest fans. We're your cheerleaders, right? So go through some things like that. How many books did you read? I read this book this last week. It was super awesome. Would recommend. All that great stuff. Then we have physical. In physical, we'll talk about like how many times we went exercising last week, some goals we have for this next week. Like, I'm working on running and I want to hit this pace. I've signed up. We are going to do a triathlon as a family. So we're going to have some awesome physical goals in there. We're eating healthier. We're doing this. So just anything like that. Like hygiene is in physical a lot too. So if you have a kid struggling with showering or brushing their teeth, some basic hygiene, like, hey, how'd that go this last week? Like, hey, I did pretty good. I showered 3 times. Like, 3? That's amazing. Do you think you could make it 4 this week? Or do you think you want to just try to hit 3 again, right? So just review and plan with each of these categories. Next one is social. Now, social is not just hanging out with friends, which is super fun and super awesome. And yes, it is a part of it. But social is also being able to step back and see, how can I make things better? How could I serve? Is there a need? And instead of saying, who could do this, saying, how could I make this a little bit better, right? So in this one, sometimes we'll do like, let's have people over. Let's invite people. Let's be a warm, welcoming home. I was a good friend. I went and sat by somebody who looked very lonely. I talked to people at the grocery store. I helped somebody. Then serving, like maybe I made cookies for the neighbors. I went and picked up garbage. So just something that like, this is what we did great last week. Here's what we could do this next week. Spiritual. What did you do with scriptures, your prayers, something you read this last week that was maybe poignant? What's something you could do better next week, right? So all those great things. Then I've added this lovely column over on the left if you were watching, and it says meal planning right then and there as a family. And you know what's great is sometimes my family's like, oh, family meeting, the family planning is going on a little long. It's like, oh, then have your meals prepared in advance what you want it to be, right? So if you have all little kids, you may still have to have like help them cook all the meals, but I'm at a place now where I can just say, hey, you're Tuesday, what do you want to make? And they're like, well, I guess somebody's making a breakfast casserole tonight for their meal, right? And so I'm at a place now where we can just assign it out, but before I would have them help pick the meal and then they'd help me cook the meal. So that is super helpful, so I don't have to sit and plan every single meal, because I don't know about you, when I'm planning all the lessons and all the homeschool and running the house, sometimes I'm like, sometimes I don't want to plan something. So I love having them help me with the meals, and then they're much more inclined to eat them all, as they've been a huge help with them. And it's also great with me working a couple days a week to make sure that our family gets fed still on those days. Then I also have these family activities. So whoever is our discussion leader, it's kind of like the leader for the week, and they're in charge of our family activity. So they can plan, and it has to have within reason, right? Like, we're not going to go fly somewhere, or maybe we'll go somewhere that costs money, but we try not to do that every time. That can get pretty pricey with a big family. But in the summertime, sometimes it was playing, now I'm going to forget the name, where you drop everybody off at one location and they have to try to get to a different location without getting caught. I cannot remember the name of that, but that was somebody's game they planned. We've done kickball. We actually went and visited with my mother-in-law yesterday for somebody's family activity that we planned a big activity to go do with her. People brought instruments and they just planned this fun thing to do with grandma. We've done camping, right? So just whatever that person who's ever in charge gets to plan their family activity. We also have, how can we serve this week? And I have found that this has been so helpful to just help the family to get out of like, oh, our house is chaos, we're crazy, we're wild, I'm overwhelmed. Like, who could we go and serve? Is there something simple we can do? Did somebody have a baby and we could make them a meal? I know serving, like for us, garbage is a big one that we like to do, just whatever. And like people will throw out their ideas and write them down, like, how can we serve this week? And then we have a spot for family focus. What could our family focus be? So if there were a lot of comments or concerns about a certain area, I know we've had family focus of like, we are going to quit interrupting. We are really going to work on not interrupting, which has been a tricky skill for our family. And so that's been a family focus. Or we could have a scripture being a family focus. Or like, we're going to work on having a positive attitude even when something bad happens. Our family focus is going to not call people names. or whatever it is, right? Like our family focus is we're not going to yell at people this week. We're going to, like, when we feel really frustrated, our family focus is we're going to walk out of the room instead of saying something mean or hurtful or yell at somebody. So this is the family planner. I highly recommend that you create something like this. You can purchase the pre-made calendar. If you're in the membership, you can download it, or you can just create something of your own, but something where it is your business and you're super intentional about it, right? Like if you're homeschooling and you guys are there together all the time and then your house is chaos and crazy, nobody's having a good time. So if you thought of this as like a business that is mismanaged and is just crazy and all this stuff, like that business falls apart. Families fall apart, right? Like we've seen it, we know families that have. And so being really intentional, though, it doesn't mean that your family will be perfect because perfection does not exist. But it just helps, like, oh, this was a problem last week. This was something great last week. Here's what we could do even better next week. And here's can be our focus. And really teaching kids how to be amazing problem solvers. This is one of the things I love. I when I say, like, what does education mean to me? One of them is to teach my kids the skill of being a great problem solver. And this, for me and Family Planner, is a great way to mentor that and have all the siblings help too, because they're all learning the skill of problem solving. So to me, it's something that blesses our family immediately, but it also is blessing my children's lives because it's putting them on this trajectory of being intentional, of always trying to improve. And then it puts my husband and I on a trajectory where we're like, well, we're old, we don't need to improve anymore. But like, we're like, yeah, we're doing this with our kids. We're always trying to grow. We're always trying to be better, right? And then think about the skills that they have when they move out of the house and they're like, I know how to meal plan. I know how to take care of my physical health. I know how to push through when things are hard. I know how to take care of my finances, right? Like it's just mentoring line upon line, precept upon precept of all these amazing skills with your family. So like if you start when they're young, fantastic. If you start when they're teens, fantastic. Like just starting small and simple things are going to bring about some pretty amazing things. So as you implement something like this, like how I have it, whatever it is, it will be really amazing what you'll be able to create with your family. Okay, friends, that's all I have. So if you want to go and sign up for Mama's members, you can go to coachmegthomas.com. And remember, your teens can now sign up for private sessions with me. And I'm super excited to help them and to do coaching with you and all those beautiful things. So I hope you guys have a fantastic day, and I will talk to you hopefully with Karen next week.